Only the ladder is real. The climb is all there is.
Littlefinger is the most cunning character in Game of Thrones. Some might consider him as the main character of Game of Thrones. Why? Because he instigated more events than any other character in the show. While coming from humble beginnings, he rose to power using his skills in deception, as well as economics. He became the master of coin on the small council, under both King Robert Baratheon and his son Joffrey. Number 1. Kill with a borrowed knife. The show starts with an event that will change everything. Lord Jon Arryn of the Vale dies after Littlefinger convinces Lysa Arryn, the Lord's wife who's in love with him, to poison her husband. Lord Arryn...
What wife would do for you the things I've done for you? What wife would trust you the way I've trusted you? You gave me those drops and told me to pour them into Jon's wine, my husband's wine.
Lord Arryn happens to be the hand of the king. This forces King Robert to visit and convince Ned Stark to become the next hand. The latter accepts. This strategy is called kill with a borrowed knife, because you use other people's resources, strengths, and so on to attack someone else instead of doing things on your own and exhausting your own resources. An important part of power is to get others to do the work for you. People like Steve Jobs, Thomas Edison, Elon Musk have used this principle to create a godlike aura of efficiency. Using this principle, we forget that they stood on the shoulders of giants. Littlefinger also instructed Lysa to send her sister Catelyn Stark a letter warning against the Lannisters and her suspicion concerning their involvement in her husband's death.
When you told me to write a letter to Cat, telling her it was a Lannister.
This maneuver pushed Catelyn to go to King's Landing to investigate closer.
Why did you kill him?
Because he was a drunk and a fool, and I don't trust drunk fools.
Number 2. Get rid of loose ends. Baelish will later marry and kill Lysa Arryn in another season to cut
Baelish.
loose ends, protect Sansa Stark, who is his new Kay to the north of the kingdom, and finally become Lord Protector of the Vale.
I have only loved one woman. Only one. My entire life. Your sister.
Once Littlefinger's plans succeed, he starts eliminating things that might end up leading back to him. One of Baelish's favorite quotes is that money buys a man silence for a time. A bolt in the heart buys it forever. He also took advantage of Lysa's hint of madness and quirkiness that were often manifested in manic behaviors like yelling, impulsivity, and feeding her own grown son, Robin. Machiavellian individuals understand that naturally most relationships are doomed, so they never invest fully in people. Human beings are stocks that go up and down in their mind. Celebrities often associate themselves with other celebrities to rehabilitate their image.
Before we begin, I just want to congratulate Harvey and his wife Georgina on the birth of their new baby boy. Thank you. Harvey gave us just what we needed, another him.
They will soon abandon and distance themselves from the same celebrities because they are victims of wipeout culture.
He is just that horrible ass boil that does not go away.
Number 3. Be unpredictable. In the first scene with Littlefinger and Catherine, he sends his man to Catherine Tully and brings her into a brothel because no one would expect her to go there, since her reputation of duty and honor. House Tully's motto after all is family, duty, and honor. Her presence in King's Landing would appear suspicious after all. If she wanted to come, why didn't she travel with her husband? Why the sudden change in opinion? So, a key to Baelish's success is his ability to keep people guessing his motives and intentions and plans. Like Sun Tzu said, he makes his plan as impenetrable as night. Baelish often emphasized the point of concealing one's motives. This is the answer he gave after he was asked by Sansa Stark why he killed Joffrey in the last seasons.
A man with no motive is a man no one suspects. Always keep your foes confused. If they don't know who you are or what you want, They can't know what you plan to do next.
Number 4. Frame the opposition and feed the doubts. After he inquired for the reason Catherine is in King's Landing, she shows him the dagger used in an assassination attempt against her own child, Bran. Of course, Baelish spies already let him know about this fact, so in order to create a wedge between the Lannisters and the Starks, he framed Tyrion Lannister, the Imp, for its current ownership. In my research for the video, I have found that the real owner who won the dagger from Littlefinger was the king himself, Robert Baratheon, when he bet against Jaime Lannister's win odds. Tyrion would have never bet against his brother. Number 5. The Vulture Stratagem. In the process, Baelish used the Vulture Stratagem. Like a vulture, he took advantage of another person's troubles. In this case, he took advantage of the assassin's mistake of leaving the dagger and of the Stark's personal suffering. This is the core of Littlefinger's philosophy of life. Sun Tzu said, "In chaos lies opportunity," which Littlefinger translates to this:
Chaos isn't a pit. Chaos is a ladder.
Following are some ways of using the Vulture Stratagem. One way would be to wait and take advantage of someone else's induced chaos. Another way would be to create turmoil yourself through spreading rumors and so on. It takes advantage of people's confusion and fear. When someone is terrified or when the element of loss is present, the target is susceptible to influence, change, and conquest. Thus, inflaming and discussing the worst possible scenarios or eliciting the negative criteria of any situation would lead to more terror. An innocent statement of an instigator such as, "So what would happen if you can't do this?" or "You can't pay that," is sufficient to stir the pot. Moreover, it appears as a form of care and consideration on the manipulator's part. The vulture is opportunistic in nature. It leverages other people's pain to gain advantage. For instance, loan sharks find ways of detecting people in deep need of the money in order to collect insane interest. Drug dealers hang around or infiltrate recovery circles pretending to be members in order to subtly market their products. Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad did this multiple times, as you can see in this scene.
New version of it hit the streets and, wow.
Not that blue stuff.
You had it too?
Yeah, bro. I wish I never even heard of it. It's like lighting my whole head on fire.
The more the target understands the urgency of the situation, they are more likely to budge and take the least beneficial and more immediate offers. Number 6. Play good cop, bad cop. With Ned Stark being arrested for treason, the main problem is the potential retaliation of the North, led by Ned's wife and his eldest son, Robb. So the Queen summons Sansa to a little meeting. The trick was to convince Sansa to write a letter to her brother, Robb, in order to lure him into King's Landing. This is done to neutralize the North powers and get them to accept the reality of the situation, or if all fails, they can assassinate Robb and gain control over the North by installing someone else more suitable and easier to manipulate. This scene, Cersei plays the judge with the final decision. Littlefinger and Varys play the good cops, trying to praise and show the innocence of Sansa, while Pycelle was playing the role of the bad cop. The good cop bad cop tactic creates tension in the situation and pushes the target to stay away from the bad cop. That represents punishment in the worst case scenario. And listen and trust the good cop with a more reasonable approach and more useful in fulfilling her needs. The needs are saving her father's life and ensuring a potential future marriage with the king.
King Robert's body was still warm when Lord Eddard began plotting to steal Joffrey's rightful throne.
Please, Your Grace, there's been a mistake. Send for my father, he'll tell you. The king was his friend.
Sansa Sweetling, you were innocent of any wrong, we know that. Yet you are the daughter of a traitor. How can I allow you to marry my son?
No, I'm not. I'll be a good wife to him. You'll see. I'll be a queen just like you, I promise. I won't hatch anything.
The girl is innocent, Your Grace. She should be given a chance to prove her loyalty.
The courtiers succeeded at getting her to write the letter, using this tactic. King Joffrey would later assure her that he will spare her father if only he would confess. He convinces her stubborn and honorable father towards confessing his treason. Sansa did as she was told, and so her fathers. The courtiers and the queen were quite happy because this meant that the chaos wouldn't ensue, and everything would return to normal after Ned Stark is saved. Much to everyone's surprise, they didn't know that someone else only wanted Ned dead after he clears the air for any rumors going around
But they have
the
the
populace,
soft
of
hearts
course.
of women. So long as I am your king, treason shall never go unpunished. Sir Ilyn, bring me his head.
After this was done successfully, he was executed. This was a shock to everyone except two people, Joffrey, the king, who ordered the execution, and another man who didn't seem surprised at all. Guess who was it? Number 7. Use spies. The importance of honeypotting.
I'll speak to him. A singularly bad idea. Do you see that boy there? One of Varys' little birds. Now look, there. That one belongs to the Queen. And do you see that scepter, pretending to read her book?
Varys of the Queen.
No, she's one of mine.
Littlefinger owns a series of brothels throughout the kingdom. These pleasure houses not only cultivate and captivate the most powerful and richest players in the kingdom, but they also work as intelligence agencies. Littlefinger's prostitutes work as spies in his favor, collecting secret information, seducing clients to gain favors, and serving as platforms for launching rumors. Female agents have often been utilized throughout history, like in the Soviet Union, for example. While Varys uses little birds, aka children, to collect information, Littlefinger uses women. Why? Because men are most vulnerable after they have sex. It's that sweet pillow talk that gets people into trouble. He would tell you to make no promises when you are happy, and share no dirty secrets when you are this vulnerable. The following scene we see Varys hinting that if the queen ever knew that Littlefinger helped the Starks arrive at the conclusion that the Lannisters were behind the assassination attempt on Bran's life, he would be in trouble and she wouldn't be pleased at all.
If the Lannisters were behind the attempt on the Stark boy's life, and it was discovered that you helped the Starks come to that conclusion...
But you know something, I do believe that I have seen you even more recently than you have seen me.
Have you?
Yes. Earlier today, I distinctly recall seeing you talking to Lord Stark in his chambers.
Was that you under the bed?
And not long after that's when I saw you escorting a certain foreign dignitary.
Littlefinger responds to Varys by sharing his later whereabouts, hinting that he knows a lot of things that the king wouldn't be pleased about as well, mainly him conspiring with foreign enemies of the throne. This is why it's important to keep tabs on the competition, because you never know when you will need them. Number 8. Don't play other people's games. Lure them into yours. As a child, Petyr Baelish was in love with Catelyn Tully, or Catelyn Stark. And as a mark of her love, he chose to battle Ned Stark's brother, Brandon Stark, for her hand. This ended up in disaster and heartbreak, almost leaving the teenager dead if it wasn't for Catelyn begging her lover to spare Baelish's life. It was on that day that Littlefinger learned a very important lesson. He wasn't a fighter, he was weak. He wasn't capable and strong like the Starks, but rather a schemer who maneuvers people using his own intelligence.
Ah, the Starks. Quick tempers, slow minds. I learned that I'll never win. Not that way. That's their game. Their rules. I'm not going to fight them. I'm going to fuck them. That's what I know. That's what I am. And only by admitting what we are can we get what we want.
In life, it is very potent to know who we are, for it is the healthiest thing to do. It's necessary to not let ourselves get played and lured out of our posts, playing other people's games, fighting in other people's territories. And like Littlefinger said, instead of spending endless time trying to savor and fix our weaknesses, it's much more important to double down on our strengths. Littlefinger utilizes his own skills and deals with people on his own terms. Number 9. Keep your eyes on the prize. Whenever Varys and Littlefinger meet in the throne room, we witness the latter locking his eyes on the throne, visualizing his goals, almost tasting them. Successful people tend to rely on visualizations of the future, of what might happen, of all the good things they want and aspire to have and be. Living and working, but keeping the end in mind, is a key to patience. And while chaos-inducing, Baelish is a very patient person. He has to because his plans are long-term and take time to flourish. His act of poisoning Jon Arryn didn't pay off until seasons later, when he became Lord of the Vale. Festina lente, making haste slowly, is a good motto to embrace and works in complementary fashion with chaos is a ladder concept. He plans deliberately but strike like a thunderbolt when the time has come. Number 10. Ask other people what they want. King Robert had two brothers who started fighting after his death for the right to rule, Stannis and Benley. After Benley's death, as a result of his bigger brother scheming, Loras, his secret lover, refused to leave his bedside even when Stannis' army was coming closer. Marjorie Tyrell, Loras' sister, tried to convince him to leave with her, but he wouldn't budge at all.
Would have been a true king. A good king.
Tell me, Sir Loras, what do you desire most in this world?
Revenge.
Littlefinger did what he does best and inquired about what Loras really wants. Loras wanted revenge for his lover and king more than anything, so Littlefinger used that to convince him for Stannis will come and ensure that he will never get the revenge that he really wants and thus dying before he gets closer to the goal.
I have always found that to be the purest of motivations. But you won't have a chance to put your sword through Stannis. Not today. You'll be cut to pieces before he sets foot on solid ground if it is justice that you want. Be smart about it.
Littlefinger does the same thing with Marjorie.
Calling yourself king doesn't make you one. And if Renly wasn't a king, I wasn't a queen.
Do you want to be a queen?
No. I want to be the queen.
Marjorie wanted to be the queen, not just a queen. So he understood that she wanted to be Joffrey's wife. Now, he has something he can use to gain their favor and perhaps launch him to higher levels. And the latter, since their family name has so much weight in the Seven Kingdoms, being it the second richest house.
After the Lannisters and the Starks, the Tyrells command the largest host. Their lands are the most fertile in the Seven Kingdoms, feeding horses and soldiers.
Yes.
Number 11. Suggest useful alliances to the Master. Littlefinger knows both the wishes of Sir Loras and Marjorie, as well as Tywin's plans against Stannis. He pays a visit to the latter and suggests an alliance between the Lannisters and the Tyrells, combining both powers, leading to the first initial loss of Stannis Baratheon.
More wine for Lord Baelish.
Because of all the benefits it produced, Littlefinger gained a lot of esteem in the court and ended up being granted the castle of Harrenhal. A word of caution, however, if the alliance you recommend to the Master turns out to be treacherous on your allies' part, then you will suffer the consequences, since you brought the bad apple to the table. Do your due diligence beforehand and research your allies. Does that person or group has a habit of going back on their word? Are they flaky? Do they use alloplastic defenses? Do they speak ill of their previous partners? Do they blame others for their lack of success? These are some things you can pay attention to know if your ally is up to no good or reliable. At any rate, there's so much to learn from Littlefinger's successes and mistakes that we will explore more in the future. So, make sure to stay tuned. Help the channel to climb the ladder of YouTube by liking the video, commenting, subscribing. You have the power. Even the smallest things can help the channel. And if you want more on Game of Thrones, watch this video over here.